There are numerous situations in which you use the subjunctive, for example, after certain conjunctions. In this video, I will show you one scenario which is a sequence of tenses. I will show you what to do in sentences of type verb, que, verb, as well as how I perceive the issue. This follows on from my video about the patterns of the subjunctive, so I shall include a link if you have not seen that already. Before we start, let's look at a couple of sentences. If I wanted to say, I want to do it, I can say, quiero hacerlo. As the subject has not changed, I do not change hacer. If I want to say, I want him to do it, then I have changed the subject in the second part of the sentence, so I say, quiero que él lo haga. I have to use que and do something that is like restarting the sentence with a different subject. Some verbs force you to use the subjunctive for the second verb, for example, ordenar or lograr. There are numerous verbs which do this, often with an element of doubt, like it's possible that she's there or I'm happy that he will fix it. We have 4 options for the second verb, which some people find confusing, but as the patterns are quite rigid, I find it somewhat straightforward. I like to view the subjunctive as a special concurrent version of tenses you already may know, a sort of doubting tense, sort of implying that an action was thought to be doubtful to happen or will happen. I think of 2 train tracks running parallel. Most of the time you are running on the facts track, but every so often you briefly switch to the doubts track along the journey of the sentence. With that in mind, let's examine the options available for the second verb. We have the present subjunctive, which covers the present time, as you may expect, but also the future, so fortunately we do not need to learn a future subjunctive. We have the imperfect subjunctive, which is used to talk about a past action. I like to see it as a general past tense. It's the one that changes the ron sound to ra or se, as explained in a previous video. We have a present perfect subjunctive, which to me is a bit like a subjunctive version of I have, he has, etc. The conjugations have that aya sound, ayas, ayamos, ayais, and ayan. Finally, we have a past perfect subjunctive, which to me is a little like a subjunctive version of had. The stress is in the same place on its conjugations. Bear in mind that you may read different names for these. For example, the past perfect subjunctive is also referred to as the pluperfect subjunctive, but it doesn't matter. I still think of it as a sort of had tense without worrying about the official names for them. Perhaps you may wish to pause the video at this point. So how do we know which one to use? Well, when selecting which version of the subjunctive to use, I become aware of when 2 actions happen. 2 things can happen at the same time, or one further back in time. If I wanted to say, I doubt that he fixed the television, then I am doubting in the present time, and the repair of the television happened further back in time. If I said, I asked him if he had bought a car, then you can see that the question happened in the past, but the buying of the car happened even further back in time. The awareness of when things occur is necessary when you look at the sequence of tenses. The subject matter is a little more complicated than what I'm about to portray, but this should be sufficient for possibly every sentence that you may make using the subjunctive. If the first verb is in the present tense, future tense, or a command, we have 2 options for the second verb. If the first verb is in a past tense or any conditional tense, we have 2 other options for the second verb. I think most of the time you will only have to concern yourself with sentences where the first verb is in the present tense or a past tense. If it is in the present tense, the second verb will be in the present subjunctive if that action happened at the same time or subsequently. If you want to show that it happens before, use the present perfect subjunctive, which I think of as a sort of have tense, like I have written or I have exercised. It's the one with the aya sound. If the first verb is in a past tense, the second verb will be in the imperfect subjunctive. If it happened at about the same time, or if you want to show it happened before, use the past perfect subjunctive, which I think of as a sort of had tense. That's the one with the hubiera or hubiese sound. If the first verb is in the present perfect tense, the second one usually is in the present subjunctive, but it sometimes is in the imperfect subjunctive. So, let's have a look at some examples. If I want to say, I don't want you to go, then the wanting and the going happen at the same time. So I say, no quiero que vayas. The first verb is in the present tense, so the next one is in the present subjunctive. Note that in English we often miss out the word that, but it is necessary in Spanish. If I want to say, I am glad that they have won, then I'd use the present tense for the first verb, as I'm glad in the present time, but the winning happened in the past, so I have to use the present perfect subjunctive, the one with the aya sound, for the second verb, and I say, me alegro de que hayan ganado. If I want to say, I wanted you to help me, then I use the imperfect tense for the first verb, so that means I have to use the imperfect subjunctive, which is that ron to ra sound, for the second verb, which gives us quería que me ayudaras. If I want to say, we were afraid that they had not left, the first verb is in a past tense, so for the second verb I use the subjunctive version of had. I use it because I'm talking about something that happened even further back in the past to that action of being afraid. So I say, teníamos miedo de que no se hubieran ido. Ido usually means gone from the verb ir. I think that's enough information to digest for now. I hope that I have helped you with deciding which version of the subjunctive to use, and thank you for watching.